here. Countdown 2019. We have Ms. Ayobe on the show, and of course, Mr. Rotimi Sankore. Good afternoon, ma and sir.
Good afternoon.
So over to you.
Okay, Rotimi, we have a special guest on the program this afternoon, and as usual, my job is to drag out the ideas, content in his in what he's going to tell us. Our guest is Mr. Tope Kolade Fashua.
Yes.
He is the presidential candidate of the Abundant Nigeria Renewal Party. And you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
I don't know whether to call you Mr. President or Mr. Candidate.
Well, Mr. President is better. Let's get prepared for the eventualities as it is.
Yes. Well, the Abundant Nigeria Renewal Party. When really was it formed? When was it established?
Well, we started out in 2016, December, and we were there. We were there trying to get the license for almost a whole year. We got the license precisely a year, less 2 days.
When you say the license,
after.
You mean before you got registered?
I mean that's the license registration comes together, kind of. So it's precisely in a year's time. So December 14, 2017, we got registered, and then on the 10th of January 2018, we got the certificate itself. And so basically that's it. So it took quite a while, and we had to go through the old hog of going back and forth, putting papers together, to INEC and all of that stuff.
Yeah. I guess that this section of the program, the ideas segment, tries to look into every candidate's party and policy and find out where do we see the integrity, where do we see the ethics, where do we see the accountability in their program. So I guess that the first thing I would ask you is why did you feel that you had to establish your own party rather than joining an established party?
Thank you very much. In fact, every reason, because all of us Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians say they're frustrated about what's been going on, at least since the return to democracy about 19 years ago or thereabout now. Everybody says they're frustrated about what's been going on, but who's doing anything about it? So that's the thing. That's where we started from. Then I actually got quite frustrated once I said, look, this 2019 I'm going to be also contesting for the position of the president, in this country. But the point was now how. And I felt that there was also going to be quite a number of people who feel the same way. So we said, look, the best bet would be not to join these old parties, which are already compromised. And the way you start out on your journey.
I understand that there are the narrative of the major parties are compromised, but there are several groups of people like you. You said that there are a lot of people who felt dissatisfied. What is it that draws your particular party together? Is it the issue of integrity? Is it the issue of ethics? Is it the issue of accountability?
Actually, I would say the three, because if you looked at our constitution, a lot of that is actually embedded in there. We have a very strong constitution.
What does your constitution have to say about ethics and integrity?
Oh yeah, for example, we even things like who signs a check within the party. How do you control the party structure?
Party
finance is very, very important. We have 3 signatories for everything, and if it doesn't work that way, then nothing comes out, and so on.
Can I ask
so that's very important.
If your party depends on having 3 signatories before an ordinary political party can spend money, doesn't that suggest to you that there's actually a lack of integrity?
No.
Because it means that it suggests somehow that one person cannot be trusted, that the people in your party may not necessarily have the required degree of integrity to operate by themselves.
No, I don't think so. I think the real thing is that, in terms of corruption prevention and all of that, the first thing you do is to ensure that people don't actually get to steal the money. You don't tempt them. People get into all sorts of things, family issues and so on. Don't even make it possible for them to take the money.
So for you, it's about systems.
So it's about systems. Very, very important. And that's what we did. Serious corporate governance going on in the party. The party, we emphasize recognized in our constitution that the party is supreme. It doesn't matter what you become, if you become the president, governor, and all. Because one of the things we saw, from the old parties was a scenario where one guy gets there, he's the chairman, he does anything he likes, he does it any way he likes, And then usually one very interesting thing, they call them leaders, right? So the leader of a party in a state is the guy that becomes the governor because he has the money. So the parties are driven by money because that's the guy they go to beg for stuff and all of that. So all of these things were the things we try to mitigate and hedge against, in trying to put the system.
But apart from defining yourselves in opposition to the existing major parties, what is it that you are bringing new to the table in terms of the issues that are of concern to Nigerians, and particularly in a context where the desire to see a genuine anti-corruption administration is very strong in the electorate?
Right. Okay. For example, if you look at our manifesto, as far as this is concerned.
Okay, tell me something from your manifesto.
Okay, for example, on anti-corruption, we intend to institute what is called the CAFR, which is the Comprehensive Annual Financial Reporting for every ministry, department, and agency in Nigeria.
An audit?
It's an audit, it's a published audit. For example, they say that NNPC is our mainstay, for example. NNPC, I can't remember in the last 20 years if they've ever published an account. So if you say that something is your mainstay and they don't render account to the people, so who's the boss, So the guy who's the GMD of NNPC believes that he's the boss, And however, he's there at the mercy, in fact, at the instance of the people. And, we seem to have forgotten that. Then there's something called the GSA, which is the General Service Agency, that procurement, because procurement fraud is one of the big areas of corruption in Nigeria. Procurement can be done as it is actually in the USA. Actually, it could be joined.
You can still find the United States Army buying for $20 the light bulb that elsewhere is sold for $1.
Oh yeah, but there's something called the GSA in the USA, and that means that this agency procures in bulk. And if you need something, they issue to you. Okay, of course, you can talk about the U.S. Army, maybe in a specialist organization can actually, but then we can get there. But the point is that we've got this silo mentality. I live in Abuja, I see I work, Ministry is here. You want a mast, you build your mast, and then the ministry is next door, builds its own mast as well, instead of you to combine. Because people are more into the silo mentality, into the territory protection. So we believe that the GSA will be great stuff, because, for example, one of the problems we have with the budget is that you see a scenario where they want to buy maybe a Hilux, right? And one ministry is buying his Hilux at 15 million, the next is buying at 19 million, the next is buying at 27 million.
But isn't that what the due process and the project...
it has failed, actually. The BPP has failed.
But when you
if
say...
the BPP has to be strengthened into a GSA. That kind of, but so we're going to have just one place where when you buy the asset, it gets issued to you. When you're done with the asset, maybe after depreciation, you send it back to them. And one very, very interesting thing happens today.
Don't you think that the end result of that will be so many log jams in government that the tendency will be for people to try to circumvent the system, and then you'll be in a worse condition than you were before in terms of accountability?
I don't think you'll be in a worse condition in terms of accountability. What you probably will say as the argument against this is probably that, you're concentrating the power in one place. But again, if we concentrate the power in one place, we can actually check that place. And there's going to be so many eyes on it, it depends on how we put it together. However, the issue of logjam, it'll be a great thing for there to be logjam in the way government spends money in Nigeria right now. Because what they do, the budgets don't work for the people of this country. Each item in the budget is actually put there by someone who owns that item in the budget. And sometimes when you win a bid, they tell you, this was put there by the secretary or the PAM secretary or the director of one thing or the other. Go and meet him and ask him what he wants to do with that. So there's a need to slow down. Like in the US, for example, I'll say that the final way in which the U.S. got out of the Great Depression was that between 1942 April and 1944 December, there was a freeze on the purchase or manufacture of any new car. And the General Motors, Fords, and all of that were told to recalibrate their assembly to work with the war effort because the Second World War was going on. Nigeria is at war. if you ask me, an economic war. And and whoever is going to take this country to the next level must be a wartime president, someone who's going to come in.
You seem to be adopting the slogan of one of the major parties when you talk like that about the next level.
No, that next, not that kind of next level. Those guys are taking the next level downwards, not us. Yeah.
But seriously, when you talk in this way about, and you tend to see many of your examples from the United States.
Well, not only the United States, But again, sometimes they say you can't reinvent the wheel. The wheel is round. If a system works in Europe, and we based that, we took our democracy from them. They colonized us. They gave us the systems when they were leaving. What we need to do is to warp the systems. If we warp the system, what we've done now is to warp it and to actually bring a lot of traditional, funny ways into doing stuff. And then we take decisions based on where you're from, what religion and that kind of messes up the system.
I wonder.
I'm just saying that. Look, we can actually go back to global best practices. It still works. And we've seen that. And Nigerians are some of the most traveled people in the world. We go abroad, we see how those things work, and I think you can make it done.
I appreciate the point that you're making.
Right.
But don't you feel that when you have your eye on the global ball, and then you... there's a saying that all politics is local. And one of the things that has been discovered even in the European countries that you've been talking about, where people at the local level feel that their interests are being ignored because of those who have their eye on this global ball. Don't you feel that there's a danger that your message will get lost in in translation?
Yeah, well, there's a chance that will happen. For example, if we go to villages and we're talking about GDP growth and so on, they may not understand what you're saying. But what I always tell people is this, that the reason that there's so many of us running for president now, okay? However, I've always urged the guys that are running for president like me that, look, this is the time for us to dump all our best ideas in the space. The people at that you see, we cannot be led actually by what's going on at that local level. Otherwise, in 100 years, policies will still be about give them 4,000 naira and you win the next 4 years and you mortgage their next 4 years. No. So we have to do what we're doing and help and move this country forward in spite of that problem we have at the local level. So I'm here talking about GSA, I'm here talking about CFR, I'm here talking about procurement issues and so on, because these are macro issues that need to be dealt with at the very center. And that's why I'm running for president, not the Senate, not anything. That but even as a candidate for the president, I'm making a lot more impact than sitting in one chamber in the Senate and collecting allowances and becoming part of the problem.
As a candidate for the presidency, your objective then is to impact the issues that are being discussed in the race. And what would you say in terms of ethics or accountability? What would you say distinguishes you from the rest, so to speak, of the candidates? Is it your background? You're a business person. Have you found it possible to operate a business and live totally and do it in a way that is totally consistent with integrity, or have you found that it's not easy?
It's not very, very easy. As a matter of fact, that's part of the reason why I'm running for president, because I've seen in this country, I started out in business around 2005, and 2006 thereabout. However, what I've seen in this country in that time is that ethics kept going down. And I must say that since this government came, what we saw was a bottoming out of nepotism and all of that, mediocrity, we see a country that is what they call adverse selection. Given two options, Nigeria seems to choose the worst at every point in time. And we felt that, look, this is the time for us to step out and do this, right? So yes, the issue of integrity, issue of ethics, I've been around. I worked in the banking sector. It's not all kosher in the banking sector. It must be said, yeah.
Yes.
However, there's the reason why I also left at some point, when I felt, look, as you go up, then you see a few compromises and so on. Yeah, but the entire system needs to be dealt with, if you ask me. And so, in terms of ethics, I actually am an intellectual. I've written loads of articles. I've written maybe 3,000-4,000 articles in my time. I've written 6 books. Wow. And what you do then, you're writing articles every week.
Clarifies your thoughts.
Exactly. And then you get challenged as well. And I say that I've written much more than any other person that's actually contesting today. So as a matter of intellectual quotient, I mean, what are you adding to the space? How much research are you doing? Are you even noticing what's going on in the other parts of the world? How are you relating with that? I think I'm right at the top, really. But however, I'm not notorious, right? If it wasn't for this quest, you probably wouldn't have met me. However, there's a time that one has to do something. I'm not doing it for myself or for my image. I'm doing it for this country, and this country must get better.
Well, as you say, you're throwing your ideas into the national pool of ideas,
Right.
and whatever the outcome of your own personal quest, the idea is that you will impact the way that the debate and the discussion
Absolutely.
and perhaps
That's it.
the voters
Yes.
are thinking and going, and that's really what we want to do.
That's it, because
at
we need to
Radio.
sow that seed and watch it germinate, because, and of course, maybe the more intellectual people are the ones that will understand what we're talking about, but we have to talk about it all the same. The politics and economics of Nigeria must move away from this poverty-driven kind of thing, because and what these guys have done, and what I'm also saying is that, look, if we did things right, even the rich people in this country they will get richer, and the middle class will expand, and we can get it done. But look, what are we doing with 88 to 90 million people extremely poor, and the largest number of extremely poor people in the world? It is untenable, and that's why we're here dumping these ideas in and hoping that at some point the
Somebody
politics will
pick them
change.
up and run with them.
Thank
So
you
we
very
want
much.
to thank you very much, Mr. Tope Fashua,
Thanks.
the presidential candidate of the Abundant Nigeria Renewal Party.
The computer party. Our logo is a computer.
Okay,
Their logo is a computer.
I need to interrupt this. We have some breaking news story coming right up.
This is breaking news on 99.3 Nigeria.
Close my program.
A petrol tanker has exploded at a petrol station located very close to the local airport in Lagos State. We hear that the explosion occurred when the tanker was discharging its contents, and this has resulted in a massive blaze at the facility. Officials of the fire services have moved in to contain the inferno. However, it is yet to be ascertained if there are casualties as a result of the incident. The airport was not affected by the fire. In the same vein, a 33,000 litre capacity petrol tanker has fallen along OPIC end of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway at the boundary between Lagos and Ogun states.